muscular man, extremely muscular. But he blew out of his arse after 6 rounds. And that is exactly what's going to happen to Conor, because he's going to be carrying an extra, 14 pounds of weight?
I guarantee Conor is going to weigh in 20 pounds heavier than normal. I mean, he might say he walks around at 170, 175, walking around that weight and actually fighting at that weight and getting punched in the face is completely different. He's done him. He's mentally done him.
Do you think that Tony Sims is going to be able to get that out of his head?
No, I don't think he is. I think Ben is completely gone.
So how do you see the fight going? Give me a couple of rounds. How do you think? What's going to happen?
I see it. Ben on the first round, Conor's going to come flying out, all guns blazing, and if he ain't careful, he could be catching an unfortunate one. You know, Eubank is still not. You know, might be in his 30s, but he's still sharp and crisp. He can give a fucking good shot.
But he's also fought better level opponents.
Yeah, he has.
Has Conor truly been tested?
No, but also, like, no offence to Conor, like him as a man, but since the alleged drug cheating's come out, he hasn't stopped none of his opponents.
Yeah.
But beforehand, he was ironing them out.
Is that, do you think, due to ring rust or better matchmaking?
No, it's not ring rust, is it? He's, you know, still been fighting. He's still in the gym day in, day out. He ain't like, he's not done nothing. Mm. Look at Pete Dobson. Oh, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to iron you out. Couldn't do nothing to him. And what do you say to him? You need to learn how to defend yourself.
I did. You need to learn to put your gloves up. You need to learn defence more than you do aggression.
You can't have your hands going against Chris Eubank.
No, he will get caught. So, moving on, who else? Jarrell Miller calls out Alexander Usyk and claims he'd a 100% win. What? Really? Jarrell Miller? Listen, if you think you're going to beat Usyk, do I think Usyk could knock you out? Probably not, but there's no way you're going to beat him. He's going to run rings around the Pillsbury Doughboy. In order for you, Jarrell Miller, to call out Usyk and actually win that fight, you've got to lose 120 pounds to even keep up with this guy. You're not going to get within 3 miles of him. By the time you've thrown one right hand, he's dropped you with 5 because you're just too slow. His boxing brain's far better than yours. His maneuverability is far better than yours. There's just no way that you'd win that fight. None at all. Max, what you got to say about that? Is Joe Parker right to be angry?
Listen, Joe Parker, yeah, he is right to be angry. I'll be angry, thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight a world champion. And then, oh no, I'm not gonna fight a world champion. He's not well. Thinking, what? The next shot is mine. Then he goes, nah, Jabral's going for the big cheese. He's going for Usyk. Jabral wants his redemption, and Parker ain't in his sight. He wants Usyk. And I can't blame him either.
John Fury warns Deontay Wilder that he'd get killed if he ever boxed again. I don't think that would be the case. It just depends on who they put him in with. I think at the end of the day, he's fought some great fighters. He's had a great career, but there does come a time when, you know, you've really got to sort of accept that there's not much more in the tank that you can do, and some of these younger fighters are really going to cause you a problem. So I don't necessarily agree that he'd get killed in that ring, because they certainly wouldn't be putting him in with another Zhang, because it just wouldn't work out very well for him. But on the same token, could he come back? Would he come back? Does he sell enough tickets to come back? Is probably one of the biggest questions that there is going in boxing. Joseph Parker, angry as Daniel Dubois' next move made clear. How can you do that? So Josie Parker has expressed his frustration at potentially having to wait even longer to fight the world heavyweight champion the 33-year-old from New Zealand was meant to face. Now this, guys, just to paint the picture, he was due to fight at the Riyadh season Bivol Bertaviev 2 card and pulled out within, I think it was a day's notice, due to severe infections of the chest, the eyes, and anywhere else that could get an infection, I was told. But now it looks like that he may not be giving the fight to Joseph Parker, and he could go straight for Usyk. You know, revenge type match. Max, what you got to say about that? Is Joe Parker right to be angry?
Listen, Joe Parker, yeah, he is right to be angry. I'll be angry, thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight a world champion. And then, oh no, I'm not gonna fight a world champion. He's not well. For thinking the next shot is mine. Then he goes, nah, Dubois going for the big cheese. He's going for Usyk. Dubois wants his redemption, and Parker ain't in his sight. Yeah.
One of the biggest events coming up is the heavy hitting event, right, which is going to be on Saturday, the 5th of April, Queensbury on the zone. So it's their first fight of the zone. Dillian White versus Joe Joyce. Lawrence Okola versus Richard Riakporhe. David Adelaide versus Jimmy TKV. I mean, and you've got, it's just stacked heavyweight card. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, mate. Well, I love the heavyweights.
You know, someone's getting knocked the fuck out in that.
Yeah, mate.
When the heavyweights start clashing, you know someone's about to have a very, very bad day. Here's one I want to put, and if other people are listening to this, I want their opinions as well. What was the most competitive era for heavyweight boxing? You know, when we talk about the Ali era, the Tyson era, Lewis, Klitschko, or Usyk. So, Tyson Fury has made his prediction for the Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn fight. And if Max comes back, I shall ask him his opinion on that. All right, mate, back again. So, Max, here is the question. Tyson Fury's made his prediction on the Chris Eubank-Conor Benn fight. Now, obviously, as you know, they're now calling it Egggate scandal, where where Chris Eubank Jr. smashes an egg over Conor Benn's head. Now, for those of you who don't actually know what happened in that, Conor Benn obviously was found with clofamine in his system and blamed the consumption of rather a lot of eggs. However, he managed to get away with it, allegedly, with no punishment from the British Boxing Board of Control, as he went over to America and fought twice and then came back here. However, he hasn't fought in 3 years, and Conor Benn is obviously coming up 2 weight divisions. Chris Eubank is falling down 2 weight divisions. Max, how do you see this fight?
Right, I'm just going to put it out there. I see it as Eubank is going to beat Benn, because I think Benn is too angry. He's too emotionally gone. He hates Eubank so much. His anger's going to get the better of him. Look how he is. He's snappy, he's aggressive, and Eubank's sitting there calm as you like. He's done his job. He's got into Benn's head.
I think he'll get sluggish, and that's when I think Chris will pounce.
Yeah.
I think he'll let him come at him for the first couple of rounds because he'll be angry and aggressive.
Yeah, I just hope
that would be negative.
I hope Conor doesn't let the anger get the better of him.
Because I don't think it'll be a long fight if he does.
No, I think it'll be over within 4 rounds if he does.
The really interesting one, Ben Whitaker, Liam Cameron too, after they did a backward somersault, and Ben Whitaker complained about his leg and then told everyone it was his back.
His back, and it got wheelchaired out and all that. I thought, wait a minute, his back was hurt. He wouldn't be getting wheelchaired out. You was getting just about to get ironed out, and you threw yourself over the ropes. Stop the embarrassment.
Well, you've also got a couple of good fights on that undercard as well. So you've got Fraser Clark versus Ebenezer Tete. We got Tete's crap performance last out against Dillian White. Lee Cutler versus Sam Eglinton.
Wait. Let's talk about the Whitaker Cameron second fight.
All right, come on then. Let's go back to that.
I think, right, with Whitaker, he's so up himself, right? He thinks he's like the don't stink sort of thing, and he the belittling he does towards Cameron. I think he knows this could be a career stopper if Cameron beats him. That's why he's so horrible to him and mugs him off and all that.
Yeah, innit?
Yeah, I don't like that. You know. So what? He ain't got the fashion and all that, or he ain't got the money like you've got. Who gives a shit? But I think he's a more skillful fighter. He took you to give you some problems.
Well, and also he said nobody knew who I was till I did that to him. Benavidez open to undercard role on Bivol Beterbiev 3 for the right price. Now, this is, of course, are people going to earn enough money on the Bivol Beterbiev third fight? Now, that is even if it happens, because Beterbiev has actually been asked if he wants to step up to cruiserweight. So there's a couple of little potentials there that could sort of come in the way, but it's going to be very difficult to see how they're going to better the fight card of 2 weeks ago, except obviously with a number of pullouts actually that sort of happened. Billy Joe Saunders, he sets his sight on one man for a comeback fight after a 4-year break. I want him. So Billy Joe Saunders hasn't fought since losing to Alvarez, and the Hatfield man had an amateur career, and saw him represent GB. But who is it that you think he wants to fight? If there was a fight that would give me the urge to put them back on, it would be most definitely Eubank.
Do you reckon?
So, he wants to fight Eubank again if he was to pull the gloves back on. But he'll have put on a lot of weight.
Yeah, we see him, didn't we? It was like, whoa, you're massive.
Compared to what he was. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders gave us some of the best nights in boxing. One of the most charismatic characters. Absolutely love watching him.
He's going to need 18 months to get back into shape. And he's going to be like mid-30s.
Well, he is in shape. Well, round is a shape, isn't it?
Yeah. One round, so I call that as a shape. Yeah.
He's got a lot. I mean, they're bringing up, obviously, the Liam Smith fights that Chris Eubank actually had. Obviously, the first Liam Smith fight, he loses.
Yeah,
Second
but
I think
that first fight, Eubank wasn't fully recovered after killing himself to get down to such a small weight to fight Conor. I don't think he was over that. And then the second time they meet, he was up for it. He was game, and he taught him a lesson.
I think he did. And he's been in with a lot better quality opponent. George Groves, Liam Smith. All
Billy
these
Joe
people.
Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders, exactly.
Yeah, much better opponents. Like, I'm not being funny. Who has Conor Benn actually fought?
It's hard to justify that. I mean, Nigel said that Conor can go 12 rounds. He said he can go 12 rounds at pace. Yet there's a difference between going 12 rounds at pace. This comes down to the discussion, right? That he's going to fight. At 160. So Conor Benn is going to be carrying a stone of weight extra than he should be. And you can guarantee that Tony Sims is not going to allow him to carry a stone of fat. So he's going to turn that into muscle. Now, let me give you the scenario. Frank Bruno was an extremely muscular man. Extremely muscular. But he blew out of his arse after 6 rounds. And that is exactly what's going to happen to Conor. Because he's going to be carrying an extra, 14 pounds of weight?
Yeah, all day. And probably going to blown up more than that once weigh-ins happened.
Yeah. And it's going to be muscle. And muscle is heavy to carry.
Yeah,
so he's
I guarantee Conor is going to weigh in 20 pounds heavier than normal.
Yeah.
All day.
It's going to be something savage like that. I think you're right as well.
Yeah, I mean, he might say he walks around at 170, 175, walking around that weight and actually fighting at that weight and getting punched in the face is completely different.
Yeah, and avoiding punches, it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
A lot of energy. So I think he'll get sluggish, and that's when I think Chris will pounce. Yeah. I think he'll let him come at him for the first couple of rounds because he'll be angry and aggressive.
Yeah, I just hope
that would be negative.
Conor doesn't. I hope Conor doesn't let the anger get the better of him.
Because I don't think it'll be a long fight if he does.
No, I think it's going to be over within 4 rounds if he does.
But the most important thing as well is Chris Eubank is living in Eddie Hearn's head for free.
Yeah, receiving off of this one, all talking right when Chris Eubank went. I'm going to be working with the 2 scumbags of boxing, yeah, Conor and Eddie. One's a cheat and one got him off the cheating, yeah. Eddie, for the first time, did not say a word.
Very, very strange. But I'll tell you one thing it has done. It's made the fight more appealing. They reckon they're going to sell a lot more pay-per-views. It's going
to I think this could do 1 million pay-per-views.
I think it's pretty big. But let's be honest, both of them haven't reached the level of their fathers. And probably never will. But I think Nigel said that, Conor can go 12 rounds. He said he can go 12 rounds at pace. There's a difference between going 12 rounds at pace. This comes down to the discussion, right? That he's going to fight, at 160. So Conor Benn is going to be carrying a stone of weight extra than he should be. And you can guarantee that Tony Sims is not going to allow him to carry a stone of fat. He charges at Ben Shalom, and Ben Shalom backs away, and rightly so, goes into a defensive mode. What do you think about that sort of thing?
No, I think that's a bit bullyish from Conor. It's why is he doing it? Like, it made himself look like an idiot. Like, charging at a man who's not a fighting man, who wasn't prepared for it, and sort of went for him. Like, oh, I made you
Shit yourself, I think he said.
Yeah, basically, yeah, along them lines.
And that's how you know that Chris Eubank's living in